Hello, it's Dawn here again. We're going to look this time at your A4 storage. So we've done the slip folder, but this is also a good way, if I bring mine in here from the side, it's a great way of actually storing your surplus A4 cards. So if your craft space is short, you haven't got much room, it's a great way to get organised. So it means I can store all my extra cards A4 in these pizza boxes, so I can put them on the shelf and it's not going to get damaged. I'm not going to get dog-eared corners or wrinkly bits because it's all been stored in a great little pizza box, which is really easy to make. You can decorate them as you wish. This one's out of the Pink Frog 350 craft card, and this one's out of the Pink Frog 350 Super Smooth. So you got sort of choices, but I would not go any lower than a 350 GSM to make these. And you're going to need 2 sheets of your A3 card. And the first thing we're going to do is to trim down. Now we can trim one way but not the other because my trimmer isn't quite big enough. But you can trim on the long side down to 35 centimetres, and the measurements are done to actually house your A4 card. So on the long side, trim down to 35, and you're going to do that on both. Okay, so now we do need to trim down on the short side. However, the cardstock's not going to go in my trimmer, so I'm going to show you a way that you can do it on your scoreboard. Okay, so score tool ready. So we're going to start on the short side, and you're going to score at 2.5 centimetres and 24 centimetres. Now we need to cut this at 26.5. Well, it won't go in my trimmer, so I'm going to do a score at 26.5, so I know I've got to cut that piece off. It won't fit all in my scoreboard, so I'm just going to flip it over and repeat. So I'm going to go 2.5, 24 and 26.5, and you're going to do that on both. Sorry, I knocked the camera there. You're going to do that on both. So 2.5, 24 and 26.5. I'm going to do that flip. So 2.5, 24 and 26, and then I'm going to trim off that bit I don't need now so I don't get confused. So if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to Dawn's Inspirations. So there's lots on there. There's tips, techniques, free tutorials. Often when I'm on the Create and Craft shows, after I do a show and tell with the finished samples the design team have made, because we don't always get a chance to see them. So just a great way to see all what's going on in my crafty world. There's some videos there that are very old. That's how long the YouTube channel's been going, and I do keep trying to update them, but I never seem to have enough time. But check it out anyway. So that's the short side. So now let's take one and let's do the long side score. So this time you're going to do 2.5 again, and we need to do 32.5. Now my scoreboard only goes up to 30.5. So what I'm going to do, might as well burnish this while I'm here. I'm going to burnish that score line, pop it back in my scoreboard and button it right up to this corner. And then you're going to score at 30. Okay, and you're going to do that again on both. So let's do that again. So that's 2.5, give that a burnish, butt it right up and score at 30. So that's all our scoring done. So the next thing we're going to do is burnish our score lines. So do take your time to go around burnishing your score lines, because it makes a difference with the box construction that everything comes together nice and neatly. Okay. The other good thing about this is you can spend a lot of money on storage. You could spend a lot of money on storage and it doesn't quite fit in your craft space as well. You might want to make one of these boxes but think, well, I don't normally keep packs that thick, Dawn. I only want it 1 centimetre or 1.5 centimetres deep. You can adapt the measurements to do that. This is where you can make your craft storage work for you. You haven't got to buy it the size that you see it in a shop or online. You can make it to suit you. Okay, so that's why I think it's just a great idea, and start of a new year, let's get organised with the storage. So bring that up there. That's it, nice crisp lines. Okay, now we're going to go in with our scissors, and you're going to mitre a couple of these corners. So you're going to go straight in, and then a tiny mitre and a tiny mitre. And you're going to do the same on the other end. So straight in, a tiny mitre and a tiny mitre. The tiny mitres do help when we're actually folding everything in. It just sits nicely. Okay, on this first one I'm going to cut away these two. So I'm going to go straight and then straight. So I'm going on the score line, so just take your time. So straight and straight. Okay, so that's one, and then the other one you're going to do mitres in all of the corners. So let's go straight, little mitre, little mitre, and straight, little mitre, little mitre. It's not very straight, Dawn. I'm going to straighten that up. And then you're going to do the same on these, and I'll tell you this time I'm going to bring them down this way. It doesn't matter with these ones which way you bring them down. Don't overthink it too much. If you don't like the pizza box style, you could just do a box lid and box base. It's just about getting organised, and by having the right cardstock to enable you to get organised is a big thing as well. Okay, now if you were going to decorate these like these have been done here that I shared with you, so these have just been stamped directly onto the paper, and actually these are quite sturdy, and once they're full of cardstock I don't think you need to do any more. Okay, so you could, this is the stage I would say go ahead and do your stamping. Alright, so that's what I would get done next, but I'm going to move on so you can see what's happening. So the next thing we're going to do is to join these two together here, and I'll tell you what, let's go in with a little bit of glue. So I could use red liner tape. I'm using EVA glue here, so I'm going close to the edge but not on it. Okay, like that end, and then you're going to put the one with no corners in on top of this one, and you're going to go up to the score line but not actually on the score line. Make sure, I can't see that end unfortunately. I want to go over the top to see, but I can't. So that should be right. And then give that a little burnish just to make sure the glue has dispersed. So that's now joined that together as a large sheet. And we can give that a little burnish on the inside there as well. Okay, now we can start joining these together. Now if you've got some little clips, you can use them. I'm just trying to find mine. There we go. So I use these sometimes when I'm making boxes. These are little embroidery clips. Well, not embroidery clips, for quilting. And they come in quite handy for paper crafting as well. So I'm going to do these two corners first. Because yes, I want to hold it and get a nice corner on this. You've seen us do the corners in the previous videos. And then just pop a clip in there just to give that time to dry. I could have used red liner tape. If I'd used red liner tape, it would have been instant. But I thought, let's use glue on this one this time, because you can use both. Okay, and that's going to hold that there. I'm going to twizzle this round and do exactly the same on this end. So glue on again, and on that top one, and then hold that into the corner, giving that a good mitre. Just holding it, applying pressure, dispersing the glue. Okay, and the same on that one as well. Okay, now we're going to fix this middle piece. Okay, but what I like to do first is to check, because this is basically the same both ways, but one's going to be your lid and one's going to be your base. But this is where I like to double check this before I glue to decide which one's which. And all will become clear. Some people make pizza boxes and they say, yeah, but the lid doesn't go on the base, or the base doesn't go on the lid. All will become clear. So if I put those in, if I have this side as my base, let's see, by putting this together, see how nicely that goes together. So that has now determined which one is my base and which one is my lid. So these now need to join onto here. So what I am going to do is just fold that back there. So again, I'm going in with glue on those. So I'm keeping this right hand one here as my base. Now you don't have to necessarily glue your base like this, but I personally think it just finishes it off and it makes it more sturdy. So can you see, you're going to bring that right up close like that. I'm just pressing it with my hands, and I'm going to just put a little clip on for a minute just to hold that in place while I get this together. So that is now all ready for my cardstock. See how quick it does take off. It just means your clips are an extra pair of hands. That flips over the top of there. That closes shut. So you've got your pizza box all made, ready for your card. Now another thing you can do with these, I cut some strips out here. You know, sometimes like with me with Pink Frog, I've got so many of a certain colour. I've got green there. I could stick that on the spine, so when that's in on my shelf, I know that all my green cards in there. So you could do some colour coding and really get organised this year with your craft supplies. So little sort of tips and hints there for you to have a go at. So let me just bring in those couple of finished samples. So here we go, just with the craft. You might like craft in your craft room, or you might prefer white. You might want to keep it all white and plain with just some colour strips on, because that's all you're going to see on the side of your shelf. you can store them portrait, you can store them landscape. The choice is yours, but it means that no longer will your A4 card get all dog-eared and damaged. You can keep it all nice and safe. So I'll see you soon. Bye for now.